Okay, we're going to go down to city manager, and we're going to go jump around a little bit. First will be the professional service agreement, the real estate development advisory services. Do we have a staff report in there?
Yes, we do. Mr. Pernick has that report.
Mayor, council members, Dan Pernick, Assistant City Managers. Thank you. As a part of the dissolution of redevelopment agencies in California, the city recently received the approval of a long-range property management plan, which addressed the planned disposition or development of 5 non-housing land assets or properties that the city or the redevelopment agency owned at the time of the dissolution in 2012. In accordance with the approved long-range property management plan, 2 of the 5 non-housing properties were designated as public use properties. Those included the former courthouse on Ventura Boulevard and at some parking easements currently existing in Old Town. The other 3 properties were designated for economic development uses. Properties eligible for the economic development category were those that were included in former redevelopment plans of the CDDC. So these were properties that we had planned to use for infill or reuse development prior to the dissolution of redevelopment. As it was determined, the 3 properties designated for economic development had been included in the previous plans, and their uses were consistent with the goals and objectives of the former redevelopment agency. As a result, staff is now seeking approval and an agreement with Kosmont to assist with real estate and advisory services to develop the properties in accordance with the previous plans and the improved property management plan. The property management plan and the scope of services in the proposed contract deals with 3 properties in the city. Property number 1, which is also referred to as task number 1 in the proposed agreement, is the former fire station on Ventura Boulevard in Old Town. As proposed in the plan, the property is proposed to be developed into a possible sit-down restaurant use and will meet the goals for infill and reuse development and provide for enhanced economic development opportunities in the Old Town area. The scope of work for this portion of the agreement includes marketing the site to proposed investors, including the gathering of demographic data, traffic counts, known environmental issues, studies, or other data that may be important to somebody who may be interested in developing the project. The consultant will develop a marketing sheet, conduct marketing and outreach, and prepare a deliverable that identifies a viable list of potential investors or developers that may be interested in developing the site. The proposed cost for this portion of the contract is $10,000. Property number 2, or task number 2, relates to outreach and work on the proposed hotel conference center site located at the corner of Las Posas Road and Ventura Boulevard. As approved in the LRPMP and discussed for quite a few years in the city's redevelopment plans, the project is proposed as an infill project, an economic development project for the development of a hotel and conference center. The scope of work for this portion of the agreement includes updating and completing a hotel market study report, which is a pretty in-depth endeavor, completing a financial pro forma analysis for the proposed project, and again, an outreach and marketing effort to proposed developers. Kosmont may subcontract for the market study and the financial and pro forma analysis as needed. The proposed cost for this portion of the contract is $75,000, including $50,000 for the market study, $15,000 for the pro forma analysis, and $10,000 for the marketing and outreach. Task number 3 is, or property number 3 is a proposed city-owned 12-acre recreation site at the corner of Las Posas Road and Springville Drive. This is really proposed as a community amenity recreation site to improve quality of life in the city of Camarillo for our residents. At this point, the property management plan proposes the property as a potential bowling alley and ice hockey rink location or other recreational amenity that may find a market here in Camarillo. The scope of work includes working with the developer, developing a market study for the proposed recreation uses, and marketing and outreach. The proposed cost is $35,000, including the market study and the outreach portion. That concludes the scope of the properties that are worked on. The total cost is $120,000 plus expenses. I would like to note, if during any of that process, if the outreach efforts are not being successful, that all of those funds will not be spent. We will. It's a time and material contract, so we will cut back on if we're not getting interest from any developers as we engage through the process. Staff is recommending that the City Council authorize the manager to execute the contract in order to provide the services. Again, noting that these are refill and infill economic development projects. It's anticipated that the cost for the contract will be put on a future recognized obligation payment schedule and will be paid for as a part of that. Again, we know that comes with an asterisk because it's subject to the oversight board and state approval. The legal advisors have told us that we anticipate it is an eligible cost, but again, it's subject to approval. So in the event it doesn't, we'll have a opportunity to meet and confer on the issue. If that doesn't happen, we also have an administrative allowance that we can use for this portion of the cost of the contract. That concludes my report, and we're available for any questions.
Any question today? Yeah, Mr. Little?
I've got a couple questions. Is all these tasks going to be undertaken at the same time? Or is it going to be sequential, or?
They'll be on different calendars depending on the progress. I think, like, for example, with the recreation site, some of the folks we're working with have other projects going on, so that may come later in the order. I would imagine that we'll be getting going on the hotel site immediately. It just depends on the level of interest that we're getting as we do the outreach.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because I would hate to see us, spend months on one and then move on to months on another and months on another. I mean, it seems to me that this community's waited a long time for a lot of these things to develop, and we ought to have the consultant move ahead as rapidly.
Yeah, he will be working on all of them at the same time. However, the exact timing will be dependent on the reaction we're getting from the market.
Do you have any? Is this agreement talk about any total time frame for the whole study to be finished?
I don't believe it has that in there, but we can certainly talk to him about it.
We're going to start all the projects at the same time, probably next. Actually, we've already started on most of them. And after, assuming this is approved tonight, we'll start next week with the consultant. The different projects, given the smaller projects have less steps, you'll see more results and you'll see more decision-making milestones at the council level on the smaller projects, because we'll get towards those milestones sooner.
Okay, just two other questions. First of all, I read in here, and I just want to make sure it's there, that if they go through the initial looking at all the preliminary work that has gone on in the past, because some of these things are 10, 12 years old, they're going to be in a position that they can come back and say it's not going to work this way now.
Of course.
And so that's already.
Well, they can recommend that, and we'll bring it back to you, and you can tell us.
Okay.
Council can tell us.
Because some of this is, many years in the past. And finally, it seems to, and I think you touched on it, I think the council does need to have ways in which we can keep involved in this process as it moves forward in the study.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Anything else? Anybody?
Just say that a lot of, I'm
Morgan?
sorry, just to say that a lot of the, like you said, a lot of those projects, for instance, the hotel project, I mean, there was a beautiful hotel thing that was set up before. I hope we don't have to reinvent the wheel on some of those. And also the one that sits next to Bandits, that's already got a project ready to go. Just somebody buys it and builds it. But I'm saying, as all the projects, I'm saying everything. I'm including that and the others also, Bill, because that has to be maintained. That has to also be watched and make sure it moves forward. But we've got some nice stuff coming.
Anybody else, Mr. McDonald?
I just have a question. Is there an end time on this? The cost is no matter how long it takes him, this is what it's going to cost, or is it really
This would be
tied to hours that he's going to spend?
Yeah, this would be it's a time and material. This would be the outside cost if he uses all the services that he has anticipated needing. If he does anything less, it'll cost us less. If the
Say
project
it takes
changes.
a little longer.
No, he doesn't have a standing charge. It's not a monthly charge.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's till we have a project.
It's time and material, yes. And these are the identified tasks we've agreed to that we need from Kosmont in order for his services to complete these projects.
Okay. And obviously, he feels comfortable that he can do a dollar amount there for this time frame.
Yes.
He's ready to go and, okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a couple of blue cards. First is Val Raines. Do you want to come up, please, Ms. Raines? And Val, if you'd really put that microphone really close to your lips so we could all hear you. It'd
You're
be
trying to say I'm short.
Thank you. Little closer. There you go.
We think you need to be amplified.
I think you guys are trying to say it's dinner. Good afternoon, Mayor Kildee, council members, and city staff. I am Val Raines. About 6 years ago, I met with the former city manager regarding putting a driveway through Disdar Park from Glen Drive to access a proposed restaurant in the first Camarillo fire station on Ventura Boulevard. At that time, I had 3 basic concerns. Number 1, the driveway that was proposed would be adjacent to a school playground and would shrink the present park space. Number 2, the extremely close proximity to a school and its students of a restaurant that certainly would be requesting a liquor license seemed to me to be in violation of the legal restrictions required to approve such a license. Number 3, having researched the former Pleasant Valley Baptist Cemetery, which now is Disdar Park, I was concerned that a driveway might uncover some of the bodies that had remained there. I know that after our meeting, you hired an individual to search the park's grounds and that he did not locate any of the particular remains. At that time, I felt a restaurant did not capture the cultural or historical ambiance that we have been attempting to foster here in Camarillo. I still believe that even more so, as I have observed the ownerships of the 2 restaurants located directly across from the one you had proposed change over and over. I know that you, as successor agents for the disbanded development agency, have petitioned the state for permission to dispose of that property, and that you did not wish to amend the original plan, and therefore are moving ahead with the business before you. I am disappointed that you did not seek a waiver to the original plan and solicit community input and possibly other groups that might be interested in developing that parcel of land. I reiterate, I do not believe another restaurant located in that specific location is in the best interest of Camarillo citizens, and therefore I request that you strongly consider extracting the first fire station location from the proposed contract before you this evening. Thank you. With 24 seconds to spare.
Thank you for your comments.
With
Mrs.
those
Raines.
24 seconds, Tom, Mr. Disdar was the first water manager.
Thank you. Next is Michael, I believe it's Ronan. Michael, are you here? Yeah. If you could keep it to 3 minutes, Michael, would appreciate it. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Ronan.
Thank you.
Ronan, yes. Good evening, Mayor Kildee, members of the council and city staff. My name is Michael Ronan, and I am the principal at St. Mary Magdalene School, located at 2534 Ventura Boulevard in Camarillo, next door to the former fire station property. I'd first like to thank all of you for your years of service to the city of Camarillo, both as members of our city council, as well as in a variety of other capacities. We seek to instill in our students a desire to take their knowledge, gifts, and talents and use them to better the world around them. As members of City Council, you have the great responsibility of serving our wonderful community. Tonight, I would like to speak to the development of the former fire station on Ventura Boulevard in Old Town. While I would welcome development of the site, it is truly a gateway to Old Town for those exiting the 101 freeway and coming from the train station. The school and parish communities would strongly object to any sort of establishment that would seek to obtain a license to sell alcohol in such close proximity to our school children. Our school field and basketball and volleyball courts are used not only through the day by our students, but also during the early evening by our football, basketball, and volleyball teams. On behalf of our 254 students and 176 school families, a majority of whom are Camarillo residents, I'd ask you to please consider alternative projects other than those that would sell alcohol next to our school and our children. As a parish community, we would be happy to have the opportunity to explore options for further development of the property. Again, thank you for your time and service to the City of Camarillo.
Appreciate your comments. Thank you very much. All right. So do we have any comments from the staff at this point? Or anything?
I don't have any comments.
I don't have any comments.
Okay. Council members, any comments on that?
Only comments, just glad to see Father Mullen here this evening. Haven't seen him before at a council meeting. This is great.
All right. No, Mr. Little?
This issue was raised by within the council, and the decision was to move forward as a restaurant. I share the concerns that have been expressed tonight, and feel that there's some alternatives out there that we ought to explore as part of this study, rather than just simply going for a restaurant.
Any other comments or anything?
Your Honor, we have had a chance to sit and for so many years trying to get something built. Economy went down, other things held it up, and now I think from what we decided a long time ago, it's time to, I think, the council and staff to look at it again and see what else can be there besides just a restaurant or something that serves alcohol. But I know we need to kind of continue that commercial type of venue along the boulevard to make it part of the boulevard. But I think we need to sit down and have another study session and work with staff and see if what else we can do there, if anything else.
Just a comment on that. My understanding is that we have not completely reacquired that from the state. Is that correct yet? We're really close, but we haven't quite done that.
We've reacquired
We have,
it,
okay.
100%.
And part of that, as we reacquired it, was that the use was going to be a restaurant. Is that right? That's how we pitched it to the state?
Yes.
Is that correct there? So then the thinking was that we pitched it to the state as a restaurant. We had to give it a little bit of time here just to see if there's a usage at that as we pitched it to the state, so we'll be contiguous with what our application was. Was that?
Yeah, and to be frank, our pitch to the state was really determined by what the city wanted us to pursue, staff to pursue as a use.
If we decided to do something else, let's say makes us a little, make some taxpayers' dollars, and entertainment, some type of entertainment kind of thing, be that a coffee shop, whatever, would the state say no because we found something different?
I'm sorry, I missed what type of...
If we found another usage that we liked, would the state say anything differently? Would they say, oh, sorry, you can't do that because you said this?
We could apply for something else with the state.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd go back.
Well, we've discussed this for many years, Your Honor. I believe that we should go ahead and continue. Part of this is, and we know there are a lot of problems with that site. Part of the reason that it didn't, the Great America didn't just jump up and go with it was because there was access and egress problems, there's size, there's parking, and all that stuff. I think we ought to go ahead and see what Mr. Kosmont's company says can be done there with regard to whether a restaurant can happen or not. I really do. It may come back that he says, there are better uses for this.
One thing that it was mentioned by Val, we can't make uses of any uses of that building unless we have parking. In the back building's parking, you can't reach that back building part of the parking unless you have that driveway. We've gone through this so many times to get the extra added parking for the usage of any usage for that building. Going across the back with that lane that goes in the back of the park, that helps accommodate that.
Mm-hmm. That's why we acquired the park.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, let's just try it on for size. I will move to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with Kosmont Companies and approve a budget appropriation in the amount of $120,000. There's no guarantee that any of these things are going to come back with the purpose we're sending them out to.
May come back with, I'll second that with a comment. I think this is sending him out to see what he can do, see what options are out there, and we'll see what he brings us back.
And he will
Because
look
we
at
have-
options. That's what we understand, right? He'll be looking at options for that property.
Well, under the scope of this contract, I mean, it's not going to go out and do anything he wants to do.
However, I believe it was explained to us that if he says this isn't going to go anyplace, then he's going to come back. He's not going to spend the full amount of money, and he'll be coming back and talking to us.
Yeah.
That's what I understood you.
That's correct, and more importantly, he's not going to waste a lot of time. We'll test
He
the
doesn't
market.
waste time.
Yeah, well, we'll test the market, and if the market doesn't support the restaurant use that we desire, then we'll go back and reload.
Your Honor, could I ask that this vote be separated into the fire station separate from the other two items?
But we only have one agreement we're voting on.
That's right.
Well,
We only have one agreement.
I realize that, but I think that,
I think we have to vote for the agreement or against it.
Okay.
Instead of pulling it apart.
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
pricing based on that.
Just a
Pricing could be different.
comment. If I'm gonna support this, if no other reasons, I've been very public about my concern about a restaurant there. However, when I first started talking about this, I had dark hair and I had a lot of it. So anything we can do to try to get this thing going, I think is a good thing. So I'm going to support this for no other reason than I think we need to get something going on this as soon as we can. Any other comments from anybody?
Your Honor.
With that, please vote.
Your Honor, hang on a second. I had to comment. Like you say, this has been going a long time, and we had a lot of thoughts on this property and what to do and so on. One of the things you're going to have in the future is 19,000 students at the university. Okay? We're going to have a lot of people, a lot of students running around this town, especially on Ventura Boulevard. That's where they're going to go. There's a shuttle that the university is supporting that's going to be going down that boulevard. Somehow they have to be accommodated in some fashion, in a good, positive way. I think if he can't find a good use of restaurant, I'm going to vote for this, but it's got to be something special. And it can't be something that's, like you say, the main part of it's alcohol related. It's got to be something that's going to be food related, mainly. That's its main thing. And so hopefully he'll come back with something good, but if he doesn't, I'm anxious to see what else can go in there.
And Mr. Mayor, I had a quick comment, and you might recall not that long ago, we did have a very decent proposal that was predominantly alcohol-based, and we said 5-0 thumbs down. So we had that in mind. And,
Good.
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear.
And we'll get another shot at it. I mean, once he brings his recommendations back, we're going to be looking at each one of these in detail.
No pun intended.
See what's a
Another
fit
shot
with
at
it,
it.
with next door, with our neighbors next door. Because we
Please-
have to have something that's.
Please vote. All right, that passes 401 with Mr. Little in opposition. Okay.